What's going on, guys? Brian's here. Today is Tuesday, August 31st, 2021, and the market is closed. Now, if you click this video, you're probably wondering, why would anybody be shorting NVDA at all-time highs? Or why would anybody be shorting anything in this hot market that we're experiencing right now? This video, I'm going to show you guys a couple key things that I do look for when I'm looking for a short. I do like shorting at all-time highs because there's usually things that make it very easy to spot something called relative weakness, and it's very easy to spot when you know what you're looking for. So what we have right here is NVIDIA on the daily time frame. As we can see, yesterday, which was Monday, we were at all-time highs. Let's go take a look at the SPY. We can see same situation, we were at all-time highs. Next, the Qs representing the Nasdaq right here, all-time highs. And lastly, let's take a glance at the semiconductor ETF SMH. We were also at all-time highs yesterday, and as you can see, we sold off today. So if you don't know, a few videos back I mentioned that I use a program called Quant Trading App. I'm actually the lead developer and trader for the Quant Trading App platform. So we do have a community, we do have a Discord, and it is private for the most part. I don't actually post in the public section, but in our gold chat we were talking about the pre-market plan today, and the top thing, actually only thing on the watch list, was NVIDIA. It was mentioned from yesterday. I was walking through a couple of the guys on the mic live why NVIDIA was to be on short watch for the next day. But in this particular case, you see this is at 9:20 a.m. I'm currently recording this video actually at past midnight here, but so that's why I'm saying yesterday. But yesterday, before the market opened, I was just mentioning that NVIDIA is a different trade regardless of what the market was going to do today. It didn't really matter. We were at what's known as the midpoint. I'll show you guys what that is exactly. But the fact that the market was below the point of control, this is a little bit of the futures market profile. So we're just doing a little bit of what we usually do on certain days during pre-market, just taking a look at the broader market, taking a look at the futures, try to come up with a game plan. But again, from Monday, we already knew to come in and look for a short on NVIDIA. So jumping back to the charts, let's take a second and really understand something that happened here. NVIDIA reported earnings a couple weeks ago, and it's been on this extremely nice run, actually taking out the previous all-time high, and we have yet to retrace to this level. Now, that aside, there's something called 2 Sigma, and with the Quant Trading App members, we all know what 2 Sigma is, and this right here is straight from the Quant Trading App application online. Logged in right now, and I'm just showing you guys something that we see usually when we're coming up with a trade idea or a trade plan. Just gonna hide this right here, and what we're looking at is the 6-day 5-minute chart. This was last week. We could jump into the past and see what certain levels were that the algorithm was saying was likely to be support and resistance for that week. In this particular case, we can see NVIDIA closed above this level known as 2 Sigma. Now, this is something that's statistically not supposed to happen. So whenever this happens, I usually come in the following week looking or being prepared for a short trade. So the trade idea already started building from last week. This was Friday. If we jump back to the daily chart, this was NVIDIA closing at Friday, and then we gapped up here. So now let's jump into the intraday time frame, and these are the 4 things in which we're going to take a look at: SPY, Qs, here's the semiconductor ETF, and here's NVIDIA on this side here. I currently have the Quant Trading App TOS study loaded up, so you'll see a couple lines and a couple zones and stuff like that. These are not manually drawn in. This is straight from the TOS study that's generated from the algorithm, and this line right here is also straight from the Quant Trading App TOS study. It's what's known as the 2-day anchored view app. It's fresh every single day, and these are some intraday buy and sell zones that you see on this chart, but we use them for a lot of different things as opposed to just buy zones and sell zones. As you can see here, it worked as a nice bounce trade on the Qs, but the fact that NVIDIA broke down below the zone is showing that it had a lot of relative weakness, which is something that we picked up on from the day before. So if we take a look right here, I'm just going to expand this so we can see it pretty clearly right there. Expand this one out. This was Monday, so as mentioned before, Friday market closed here, and then the SPY gapped up. We also had the Nasdaq gapped up. We also had the semiconductor ETF gapped up, and then we had NVIDIA gapped up. Now look how these two moved on Monday. The SPY had a very nice push on Monday to start the week, as well as the Nasdaq had a very nice move on Monday to start the week. However, look at what happened to NVIDIA. It sold off, and look what happened to the SMH. It also sold off. So this right here is called bearish divergence. It's called relative weakness. There's a lot of different names for it. It's just doing something that it's not supposed to be doing. And if we take a look at a bunch of other stocks on Monday, they were all moving with the market except for the semiconductors. So that right there is a sign that you want to journal down and carry it into your notes for the next day. And by journaling down, it could just be a post-it that you stick on your desk, so when you enter in your trading room or your office or open up your laptop, you remember something that you take note of from the day prior. As I mentioned, we already knew from Friday that NVIDIA had closed over 2 sigma. So the fact that it was showing relative weakness on Monday, that's already 2 signs before we even came into the day, which was today, Tuesday. Oh wait, before we go on with that, I just want to point something out to you guys. This is the quant trading app platform here. I'm logged in. I'm just did a search for NVIDIA, and this is NVIDIA's homepage. This is an extra piece of information that's pretty useful whenever you're taking a trade here. So take a look at this. NVIDIA tends to sell off the most on Tuesdays. It's actually the weakest day so far for 2021 for it. That's an extra piece of information that we know as quantitative traders. We're looking for little pieces of statistical information that will help create some sort of an edge. So in this particular case, we already had a bearish setup. We had a lot of confluence, and then on top of that, the quant trading app platform was letting us know that Tuesday happens to be a day that NVIDIA tends to be the most red. So taking a look at that, lastly, something that I really liked from yesterday that I mentioned live on the mic was the fact that NVIDIA was forming a bear flag right here, and I had liked what we were seeing. So if we just extend this pattern out, this is around the time in which I had mentioned it, but if we just extend it out like this and we see this type of pattern, I already mentioned the moment this level breaks here, we want to be in short. Doesn't matter what the market was doing. And this right here is called the midpoint line. It's something that the algo generates, and this midpoint line here is something that's important for us for the quant trading app members. We know to take trades around this level. So the fact that it was confluence that NVIDIA was breaking down below this level as soon as the market opened, as well as we already had this pattern right here that was breaking down, we were below the 2-day anchored VWAP, so they were showing a lot of weakness across the board. If we take a look pre-market, we'll pull this up right here. And let's see if we go to the, let's turn pre-market data on, and we can see from pre-market what things look like. It was already below the 2-day anchored VWAP from pre-market. We sold off, kind of came back. I actually was hoping it would have pushed a little bit higher, would have been able to get the puts for cheaper. It didn't matter where NVIDIA went. NVIDIA could have bounced all the way up here. I would have definitely just been able to get even more puts up here because the price would have been even cheaper. And at this point, we had even more confluence at this levels because it was a little bit of a supply that was formed up here. So there have been a lot of reasons, but the fact that we just sold right at the open, it was a trade to take almost immediately the moment we saw the selling pressure coming in. Next, if we take a look at the SPY pre-market, we can see that the SPY also was showing weakness. It was below its 2-day anchored VWAP from pre-market. And let's take a look at the Qs here. What did that look like from pre-market? Now the Nasdaq was a little bit stronger here. It was actually holding, and that was something that I did mention in the Discord. Generally, if the Nasdaq is below the 2-day anchored VWAP also, that's a really good sign because it means that the SPY and the Qs, there's no divergence between the two. They're both looking pretty weak. But in this particular case, here is the quant trading app levels letting us know that the Qs had already hit target for the week. And whenever we see this, we tend to look for tickers that have not quite reached their zones, because this is where NVIDIA should have been if it was to be in confluence with the market. And the fact that it never made it up here, and the fact that the Qs did, it's showing that there was relative strength in the Qs in relation to the SPY, but there was extreme weakness in the semis in relation to the Qs. So if that makes sense, there's a little bit of a triangle going on here. But when you can read this narrative between different indexes and different ETFs and things like that, it provides a strong edge for whenever you see a trade idea. Because if we pull this up right here, make it larger, and we see if you just draw out technical patterns, you can say like, hey, you did see this trend, and you did see this, and you did want to take the break. But how many times have you taken a trade just because you saw a technical pattern and it didn't work out, and price probably came here, it bounced on support, and then before you know it, it was right back up, and you took a stop loss or you were upset, and then the next day it ended up being the day where it double topped and then it sold off, but then you were crushed from the day before because you had the right idea, but you timed it wrong, and so forth. So having a narrative in your head for understanding what happened on a couple days ago, the previous day, and then coming in to form your game plan always provides what's called conviction in the trade. and that will allow you to sort of mitigate a lot of the noise or a lot of the doubt in which you might feel in the trade idea. Because again, if you're going to be shorting anything, especially some of the hottest stocks right now, NVIDIA is one of the hottest stocks of the year in terms of the larger cap companies, you definitely want to make sure you have conviction. If we take a look lastly what the options look like on the trade, I was interested in the 220 puts as well as the 225.50 puts, but I'm going to show you guys the 220 puts just because these were extremely cheap here, and they closed the previous day at 88 cents, in between 88 cents and $1. That's something I like to do whenever I know I'm going to be trading a certain contract. I like to have some sort of a general idea for where it was during power hour from the day before, and I will try to get filled. Sometimes I put these orders in from pre-market. I make them GTC orders, and I, in a sense, kind of just hope that the market fills me at the open for the price I want. So therefore, I'm not chasing up here. Sometimes the stock will just push up, and then you can get filled really cheap on some puts before it drops. And instead of waiting for the bell to actually happen, I'll put the order in from pre-market, and I'll put it somewhere in between here, because at this point I already know what my stop loss is going to be. If I get filled at 95 cents and I'm willing to give it below the previous day's low, I would much rather get filled anywhere in here than getting filled up here and then saying I have to put a stop loss below here. It just seems to be a little too wide for me, whereas this, I have time pre-market. Since the market's not open yet and you can't trade options, it allows for a certain ease and peace of mind, at least for me, to do things that way, because whenever I wait for the market to open and I end up chasing, I immediately get upset just off of the fact that I was looking at the contracts for 90 cents, 95 cents, and now they're $1.20, and they're 20, 25 cents higher than I wanted them. It instantly means I have to scale down, and I can't get 4 or 5, I can't get 10 contracts, however much I was looking to trade, because the risk ends up being too wide. But for the quant trading app members, we know to take profit at these certain levels here, and this was the first real major PT. This is always going to be our first PT, but in terms of a swing trade, this is going to be our profit target if we're short. I do have a swing trade running on this for next week's. I'm in what's called a calendar put spread. If you see my previous video on calendar spreads, I kind of walk through why I like using those, especially for swing trades, is because I'm not so concerned with theta. So I've been sitting in the calendar spread all day, and I'm still green on that trade. I did realize the profits from the intraday scalp down to here, and then I closed the trade right here before we even got this far down. I was not sure if we were going to make it this far down. Again, it is NVIDIA, and because I was in the calendar spread from the day prior, I'm fine letting that be the trade in which I swing. As we can see here, again, for the quant trading app members, we know what to do when price retraces back to these zones and we get some sort of confirmation. We can take these short back down to VWAP. But this is actually showing a little bit of not relative strength, but this is showing a little bit of strength here, that NVIDIA was able to sell off but not come back down to VWAP. Buyers stepped in here and buyers stepped in here, so this is actually a little surprising. I do like that we did close back at VWAP. So again, as I said, I'm still currently in the swing trade. My final PT on this move is actually 220 is where I would like for it to go. We'll be taking profit at 221 just because I'm just going to listen to the levels that the algo has in this particular case. And if we zoom out, there's one more thing I do want to mention. I was looking for NVIDIA to get back up to the 2-day anchored VWAP, because that's where I would have scaled into more size on some puts. We have the 2-day anchored VWAP, and we also have what would have been a 50% retracement. So I was looking for NVIDIA to come back here and never came back up to this level. Also would have been confluence with the previous day's low, but we never got it, so I didn't add any size. I'm just leaving the swing trade alone. And again, I closed out the opening drive move here. It was a very quick and painless trade. And jumping back to the Discord, as you see, I was already out of the puts at 9:34 here. I still had the calendar spread in which I was swinging. I'm saying NVIDIA should be at 220. So it's in the process of forming a bear flag below VWAP confluence. So this is just walking the traders through what was happening. So in case you didn't take it at the opening drive, what we had here was this bear flag that was now in the process of forming. So I would have liked for price to come back up to the zone a little bit earlier. So come up to here, retest here, and then sell off again, but that didn't happen either. We just put in this little mini flag and then sold off. I don't take this breakdown. I like to get in before things happen, or I get in on retracements. I don't take it if the consolidation has been this short. Now granted, this is a 5-minute time frame. I'm pretty sure on a 1-minute time frame, not something I trade off of. I look at fastest usually the 3-minute time frame, but I'm pretty sure on a 1-minute time frame there's probably a ton of other bear flags right within this time period here, because at this point we're talking about, this is already 950. A whole 21-minute candles would have formed by this point, so there's probably a ton of stuff that happened there. But anyway, guys, this is one of my shorter videos. Again, I did promise that I'm going to start doing some recaps on trades that I take, just very brief ones. It might not necessarily even always be a trade in which I took. Sometimes it might just be a really good trade setup that was there, or it could have been something that you can learn from, which is the intent behind this channel. I'm hoping to always share things that newer traders might not be thinking, because so much of the internet is really filled with just technical analysis. But sometimes you want to come into the day with a thought process that supersedes just price action. The price action always helps when it confirms what you're already thinking, but for the most part, if you can see a trade unfolding before it happens, it allows you to be prepared. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, share the video, like it, leave a comment down below if you have any questions. If you're interested in the quant trading app platform, the link is in the description. Link to the Discord is also in the description down below. Again, if you guys join the Discord, feel free to post in the public section. You don't necessarily need to sign up for the gold membership if you're looking to ask questions or looking to get into contact with me. I will respond in the public section if you post there, or you can always just send me a DM. So thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one.